boys, girls, mummies, daddies, aunties, uncles, granny, grandpa. Listen, NALIS is pleased to welcome you to its 14th annual Celebrity Tale-A-Thon. Yes, of course, where we have a host of Christmas stories. This, of course, is the Christmas edition, where we bring Christmas and storytelling together just for you. Two of my favorite things. My name is Wendell Bompart, and I'm really happy and excited to be a part of this today. Now, I want you to don't go anywhere. Stay right up until the end. We have some tremendous surprises here for you, so don't go, stay right there, all right? We can't go any further without saying an awesome and a tremendous and a heartfelt thank you to all of our sponsors. And our sponsors today are
the National Gas Company of Trinidad and Tobago, Kiss Baking Company Limited, National Flour Mills.
We want to go right into our story time. I know you are ready, so get comfortable, get your cup of cocoa, get your cup of tea, get something to drink, your juice, whatever, and relax. Our first storyteller this evening, our reader this evening, is a face that is familiar to all of you. I want you to please welcome at this time Mrs. Sharon Clark Rowley.
Good morning, girls and boys. Christmas is just around the corner, and I know that you are all very excited. So today I am going to read to you a book on Christmas, not the traditional Christmas story, but it is one all about Christmas which I know that you will enjoy. It is called The Christmas Humbugs by Colleen Monroe. And this is what the cover of the book looks like. And I know that some of you must be wondering, what is a humbug? So, a humbug is a person or thing which could be annoying or troublesome, sometimes a trickster. And I remember when I was a little girl and I would go around my grandmother and I would be very annoying. She would say, "Don't humbug me." So now that you know what a humbug is, let's get started with the story. Legend has it, long ago, in a land not far away, magical creatures came to life one snowy winter day. Nobody knows how they came to be, or perhaps they will not say, but every Christmas season they come out to play. Some say they're called the humbugs because they're itty-bitty things with messy hair, a big red nose, and shiny little wings. On the ends of their antennae dangle jingling bells of gold, and there's a smell about them like a fruitcake that is old. So this is what the humbugs looked like. Each and every year, they pick a cheerful home, and through the locks, they sneak inside as quiet as a mouse. They tiptoe up and down the halls in stockings red and white to do their little playful tricks while you're tucked in bed at night. They come in full of mischief to play naughty little games like ripping holes in stockings and breaking candy canes. They aren't trying to be nasty. In fact, the opposite is true. They're testing Christmas spirit and how strong it is in you. So there they are in the stocking, breaking the candy canes and also ripping the stockings apart. Their favorite food is cookies, and they stop to eat a treat. So on the plate for Santa, there is nothing left to eat. Drinking Santa's ice-cold milk isn't as easy as you think. If the humbugs are not careful, they might fall into the drink. There they are on the edge of the cup of milk. The humbugs love the Christmas lights. They like the way they glow. They twirl and hang and swing on them like a humbug rodeo. Oh, what fun the humbugs have with a game of hide and seek, sneaking through the Christmas tree from behind the bulbs they peek. Now, if you look at this, you may be able to see the humbug behind the bulb and one on the horse and one swinging on the lights. They like the shiny Christmas bulbs in every shape and size. It's really fun to play with them and win a tiny prize. They use the toy tin soldiers as their little bowling pins, only to send them flying when they give the bulbs a spin. Again, they're the toy soldiers, there is a humbug, and they're bowling. Underneath the Christmas tree, where packages abound, they cut off all the name tags and then switch them all around. They want to know what's in each gift, so they make a tiny tear. But before you can say, bah, humbug, there is paper everywhere. Bouncing up the Christmas tree, the little tricksters go, and when they reach the tippy top, they give the star a throw. But if they are not careful, as they set the bright star sailing, they just might make an unplanned trip with legs and wings a-flailing. While they're in the Christmas tree, on each branch they jump and hop, working hard to shake it and make all the needles drop. They think themselves quite funny as they stick them in their hair, not thinking of the sticky sap until they stuck them everywhere. This is a funny one. Look at all those needles stuck on them. They then turn back to see all the damage they have done. But what they see is that they haven't bothered anyone. The star is placed up on the tree. The lights are all put back. There's a smell of fresh baked cookies cooling on the baker's rack. Someone swept the broken bulbs. The candy canes are all replaced. The spirit of Christmas is everywhere and lives strong within this place. Christmas spirit is not about the gifts, the wrappings, or the bows. Christmas spirit is the joy, the laughter, the loving way it shows. The humbugs decide it's time to leave. Their mischievous work is done. They've tested Christmas spirit and they've had a little fun. The humbugs know true spirit isn't bothered by their tricks. The tiny pranks they play take just a little time to fix. So off they fly to another house. Back here they'll never come because of all the Christmas spirit that they found in everyone. The end.
I didn't even get a chance to read my book, but we really want to thank Mrs. Sharon Clark Rowley for that tremendous reading. Thank you so much, Mrs. Clark Rowley. And of course, boys and girls, I know you guys enjoyed it, and we want you all to stay right here with us right until the end. You have a chance to win some awesome prizes, and here's what you have to do. All you have to do is send us a video telling us what you love about Christmas in Trinidad and Tobago. Yes, and all you have to do is send it to us, send it to the email address on the screen, and we of course will select the top 3, and of course the ones that receive the most votes, you guys will be the winners, and you can win hampers courtesy Kiss Baking Company. And the winners, with your parents' permissions of course, will be posted on our Facebook page. All right, so we look forward for that. And of course, adults, you have a chance to win as well. Very easy. Tell us how many times today you spotted the Christmas tree, and you can send us an email to the address as well on the screen, and in the subject you're going to put spot the Christmas tree. Tell us how many times, and you as well, you could be winners. All right, submissions for both of these entries will end on December 31st, 2022. So that's your deadline, folks. So get it in. All right. Now, our next reader today is the Minister of Health. I want you to please welcome. I know you guys still have your coffee. If you have no more and you have some, well, not you, your kids, the adults, coffee. The kids, of course, your cocoa, your juice, whatever it is. And we get ready to get a story from the Honorable Minister of Health, the Honorable Terence D. Alsing.
Hello, boys and girls, wherever you are. I am Terence D. Alsing, Minister of Health. Many people call me Uncle Terry. We are here this morning to engage in some reading, especially for the Christmas season. The book that we are going to read from this morning is entitled A Wish to be a Christmas Tree by Colleen Moore, illustrated by Michael Glenn Monroe. So here goes, guys. So let me show you the picture so you can see exactly what we're reading from. Every year, as traditions go, they get in their cars at the first sign of snow and head to the farm at the edge of town to cut the family tree down. See how the words rhyme? As Christmas neared, the trees rejoiced, for families would come and make their choice. Which trees would go and which would stay? Oh, please pick me, the trees would say. Take me to your home, said the fat Scotch pine. Dress me with bulbs and lights, said the fir so fine. They are all excited except for one. He knew that his days of being picked were done. How sad. I've seen my sisters and brothers, daughters and sons, grandkids and great-grandkids picked one by one. I'll never be taken home. I'm too big and too tall. His sobbing and crying made his pine needles fall. Nobody wants to be sad for Christmas. A little squirrel was wandering by and stopped to hear the big tree cry. Take heart, my friend, and don't you fear. To many of us, you are so dear. Squirrel. Your branches keep us safe and warm. You are our shelter from the storm. A cardinal flying by chirped in. You are my safety from the wind. See the cardinal bird and the squirrel? Yeah? Said a white-tailed deer who was walking through, cheer up, big friend, because I need you. Your needles give me a nice soft bed, a place to lie down and rest my head. Those things you say to me are kind, but nothing can really change my mind. All my life I've wanted to be someone's special Christmas tree. With that he drew his branches in and closed his eyes to dream again, and wished that someday he would be more than just a great big tree. Fast asleep in dreams far away, he did not hear the little squirrel say, "You will be our Christmas tree. Let us decorate you for all to see." "Come gather around," the little squirrel cried, to woodland animals both far and wide. "We need to act without delay to end our great friend's dismay." He was very sad. He is our friend, this wonderful tree. And do you know where we would be without the special things he gives? I don't know how we would all live. Without ever complaining, he's given these things, yet never knowing the joy that he brings. Offering friendship from the very start, never once revealing the dream in his heart. Everyone should bring a treasure, so our giant friend can measure the love for him that our hearts hold, the feeling that we've never told. I find the story going good so far. Don't know about you guys listening. Each animal came with gifts to bear, over ground, through the trees, and some through the air. With acorns, icicles, and berries so bright, they worked and trimmed into the night. See, they're helping trim and decorate the tree, just as you do at home. The crows searched their nests full of shiny things, hoping to find the perfect present to bring. There among their treasures found from afar was the most beautiful, bright, shining star. His woodland friends decorated him with special things hanging from every limb. Acorns were dangling off branches strong. Berries were strung as a garland so long. The first morning sun brought a wondrous sight, as icicles glimmered and captured the light. Colorful birds perched all over the pine, as beautiful as bulbs and just as fine. Blue jays as blue as a crisp winter day. Cardinals bright red perched near doves soft and gray. The birds were singing so soft and clear, their most beautiful songs for the pine tree to hear. The big tree stirred and opened his eyes, and what he saw was such a surprise. You have made me a beautiful for all to see, and now I am a Christmas tree. You are more than just a Christmas tree, they said to him. Why can't you see? You are special to us every day of the year. We would be sad if you weren't always near. We're glad you stayed with us all these years, but we're sorry that it caused you tears. We should have told you the many ways you are so special to us and brighten our days. Through winter and spring, summer and fall, you are always here to help us all. With that, they gathered around the tree, and suddenly the tree could see it wasn't as important to be a Christmas tree, but always to be the best friend you can be. And every year to celebrate, they come together on that date to decorate from end to end that special tree that is their friend. Boys and girls, I hope you enjoyed the story, and I think the message we can take away is be kind to people every day of the year, not only at Christmas time. Thank you.
Hello, boys and girls. I hope you're getting ready for having a wonderful Christmas. And Christmas is not the same without stories. There's a very, very famous Christmas story about the birth of the baby Jesus Christ. Now, we all know about a story called The Three Wise Men, but I'm going to read you a story about the three wise women. And I'm going to read you the whole story, and it starts like this. In the west, the sky was bright with stars as a young woman stayed up late baking bread. As she waited for the dough to rise, she went to the door and combed her hair, singing a song about the moonlight. Suddenly she stopped. Far away in the east, there was a new star, brighter than all the rest. It was so bright that it bathed the woman's kitchen in starshine. The beams from the star shone right onto the dough. She stared in disbelief. The dough was rising as if filled with starlight. She was afraid to touch it at first, but it was quite firm and ready to be baked. So she cooked it in the oven. As soon as it was ready, she said to herself, I shall take the star bread and travel east. I must find where the great light is coming from. Way down in the south, where countries are hotter, another woman sat up late at night, rocking her child. He was cutting a tooth and couldn't sleep. His mother hummed to him and loved him with words that no one else could understand. Shall Mama get you the moon, sweet baby? She crooned, taking her child out into the night to find a breeze. I could cut you a slice, like a piece of mango, to cool your poor little mouth. The young child stretched out his fat little arms to the moon, and his mother laughed. Then they saw a strange sight, a bright new star rising in the northeast. Starlight shone on the child's face, making him smile. All of a sudden, his mother watched in silence, her heart filled with desire to leave her village and follow the very bright star. Far away in the southeast, an old woman was telling stories of her to her grandchildren by the dying light of a cooking fire. Their mothers sat resting for the first time that day, while the old woman spoke of tigers and monkeys and temples and snakes and lotus flowers. But gradually, the story began to change, and suddenly there was a star in it, just like that. Up there in the northwest, said the old woman. Then what happened, Grandma? The children prompted her, for she had stopped in mid-story and was gazing at the star till it filled her mind. and all the children hushed and gazed with her, forgetting the story they'd been listening to and wanting a new one full of silver starlight. What was it about the star? There was something different about it, which drew all through women from their homelands, and something the same that said to each of them, "Follow me." They all met on a path of starlight, not knowing how long or how far they had traveled. They were not hungry or thirsty or tired, so each one supposed her journey had been short. They found themselves on a dusty road at midnight, where the sky was a deep, dark blue, and the moon like a fingernail of mother of pearl. Each woman looked towards her own bright star, which seemed to stand still over a huddle of little houses. "The end of the journey," said the grandmother. "Let me carry your baby for a while," said the young woman to the mother. And they all walked together through the hills, past sleeping shepherds, down to the town. The star stayed where it was, growing ever bigger and brighter and bigger and brighter. It threw down great white spears of starlight onto a small white village with a thatched roof. The young woman started when she saw people coming out of the building and gave the baby back to his mother. They all watched as men in fine robes and their servants mounted onto camels and rode away. And there's some very lovely pictures of the camels. "Others have followed the star before us," said the mother. Suddenly all three women were afraid. "We've come so far," said the young woman. "We must go inside." They ducked their heads under the low door beam and looked in. It was just a stable with horses and donkeys. But it was also her home for a new family. A man and a woman and a newborn child, all bathed in silver starlight. And there was gold too, a whole heap of it, by the baby's makeshift crib. And other rich presents, but nothing was as rich or as bright as the glow surrounding that little baby. "Come in," said the new mother, and the woman entered quietly. Their hearts were full, and they too wanted to give presents. They told the baby's mother how they had left their homes drawn by the star, and they had traveled by star paths and moonlight, hardly knowing how they got there. The young woman took the loaf of star bread from her bundle. It was still warm and smelled fresh. She gave it to the baby's mother, and although he was too young to eat it, the baby touched the loaf as if to bless it. The grandmother said, "I have nothing in my bundle to give the child, but I would like to tell him a story." Then the three women sat in the straw with the new family, and the grandmother told a story full of starlight and hope. And all the time, the mother from the south held her sleeping baby, and her heart was pounding, for he was all that she had to give. And although she was filled with a strange new love for the baby in the crib, her own child was as dear to her as life itself. When the grandmother had finished telling her story, the little child awoke. Straight away, he saw the baby and held out its arms to him. And the two mothers held their sons, and the child gave a baby a kiss full of starlight. So the little boy who had come with his mother kissed the baby Jesus, full of starlight. His mother sighed and held her child tight. There had been a present after all. The three wise women left the stable and walked the paths that the star had made to lead them back home. When they got back to their villages, no one noticed they'd been away, and no one remembers the star. But the star baby in the stable never forgot the women and their 3 presents. When he grew up, he showed that fresh baked loaves taste even better when they're shared. He told the most wonderful stories to anyone who would listen. And the man whose birth had been marked by a new star taught the whole world that the greatest gift of all is love. And that's the end of that beautiful Christmas story about 3 wise women. I hope you have a wonderful Christmas full of lots of starlight.
Thank you, Auntie Marina. Well, no, I should let you guys say it, right? You guys could probably say it right where you are. Say it loud so we can hear you right here. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, I heard somebody. I think it's somebody in the building, but that's all right. We'll take that. Thank you so much, Auntie Marina, for your story. We're going right now to our next celebrity reader. He is none other than our CMO, the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Roshan Parasram.
Hello children, my name is Dr. Roshan Parasram and I am the Chief Medical Officer of Trinidad and Tobago. Today I'll be reading a story entitled The Elves and the Shoemaker, written in 1812 by the Brothers Grimm. So once upon a time there lived a shoemaker and his wife. The man was a good shoemaker and he worked hard, yet he and his wife were very poor. As time went on, they grew poorer and poorer. At last, the day came when all the shoemaker had left was one piece of leather. It would make only 1 pair of shoes. That evening, before he went to bed, the shoemaker cut out a pair of shoes from the leather. Then he left them on his workbench all ready for him to sew the next morning. As they went upstairs to the bed, the shoemaker spoke sadly to his wife. "I have used my last piece of leather," he said. "I have cut 1 pair of shoes and tomorrow I will sew them. And when they are sewed, I do not know what will become of us." The next morning the shoemaker got up early and went into his workshop ready to make shoes. On his bench, instead of leather he had left cut out, he found a pair of shoes already made. He was astonished and did not know what to think. The shoemaker took the shoes in his hands and looked carefully at them. They were neatly made with not one bad stitch in them. He showed the shoes to his wife, who said, "I have never seen a pair of shoes so well made. They are perfect." And the shoemaker and his wife could not think who had sewn the shoes. The same morning, a lady came into the shop to buy a pair of shoes, and the shoemaker showed her the pair he had found on the bench. She said, "I have never seen such well-made shoes." And the lady tried on the shoes and they were fitted her perfectly. She was so pleased with them that she paid the shoemaker twice the usual price. And with the money, the shoemaker was able to buy leather for 2 more shoes. And that night, before he went to bed, he cut out 2 pairs of shoes from the leather and he left them on the workbench all ready to sew the next morning. The next morning the shoemaker got up early and went into his shop to make the shoes. But he had no need to do so. On his bench he found 2 pairs of shoes already made. He took the shoes in his hands and looked carefully at them, and once more he found that they were neatly made, with not one bad stitch in them. That morning a man came into the shop to buy some shoes, and the shoemaker showed him 2 pairs of shoes he had found on his bench. And the man said, "I have never seen such well-made shoes." He was so pleased with them that he bought both pairs of shoes and paid the shoemaker twice the price again. And so it went. Every night the shoemaker cut some leather and left it on his workbench, and every morning he found the shoes all neatly made. Many rich customers came to his shop to buy these perfect shoes, and so in time the shoemaker and his wife became rich. One evening, not long before Christmas, when the shoemaker had finished cutting out the shoes, he went to his wife. "We still do not know who sews these shoes for us," he said. "Shall we stay up tonight and see who it is helps us?" His wife thought that this was a very good idea, so she lit a candle and they went into the workshop. They hid themselves in a corner of the room, and then the shoemaker and his wife waited quietly and watched to see what would happen. For a long time nothing happened, and then, just as the clock struck midnight, the door of the workshop opened quietly. In came two tiny little elves. These were dressed in old clothes and their feet were bare. They did not see the shoemaker and his wife, who were hiding in the corner watching them. The elves jumped onto the workbench and took up the shoes that were cut out, and they began to stitch and sew and hammer. And they worked so neatly and so quickly that the shoemaker could hardly believe his eyes. The elves did not stop for a moment until all the cut-out shoes were finished, and they ran quickly away. The next morning at breakfast, the shoemaker asked his wife, "How can we thank these little elves who have made us so rich and so happy?" "I know what we can do," said the wife. "We can make them new clothes and shoes. Their own clothes are ragged and their feet are bare." And during the evenings that followed, the shoemaker and his wife began to make the new clothes for the elves. The shoemaker cut out the softest leather he could find. He cut out 2 of the tiniest pairs of shoes ever seen. Then he stitched the shoes as carefully as he could. The shoemaker's wife cut out 2 white shirts, 2 small green jackets, and 2 pairs of trousers to match. She sewed them with tiny stitches. She made 2 little caps, each with a feather in it. She also knitted 2 pairs of tiny white stockings. By Christmas Eve, the tiny shoes and clothes were finished. The shoemaker cleared the leather and the tools from his workbench, and he and his wife laid their presents on the bench instead of the usual work. Then they hid themselves as they had done before, and waited to see what the elves would do. Just as the clock struck midnight, the door opened quietly as before, and the 2 elves came running in. They still wore old clothes and their feet were bare and blue with cold. They jumped onto the bench ready to get out for work, but there was no leather on the bench, only the tiny clothes. The elves were astonished at first, and then they were delighted. In no time at all, they were all out of their old clothes. Then they dressed themselves in beautiful new clothes, the green jacket and trousers, the white shirts and stockings, and the soft leather shoes, and little caps with the feathers that nodded as they laughed. Then they joined hands and danced around and sung, "Now we are boys so fine to see, we no longer cobblers be." At last they danced happily out of the door, and the shoemaker and his wife never saw the little elves again. But from that time on, good luck was always with them. They were rich and happy for the rest of their lives. The end.
Hi guys, what's up? It's your boy Stefan here, and today I am proud to be reading to you all a story that is very close to my heart, and it is a story with a powerful message. Fuzzy wants to play, and this story is about this rampant epidemic or pandemic or whatever you want to call it, bullying, and we're going to break it down to show how this bullying thing is so drastic that it could affect the lives of everyone involved. So let us learn something from this story as we break it down in a simple, childlike story. Fuzzy wants to play. There once was a duck who lived with his mother and 3 brothers, Igor, Blue, and Mayo, in a quiet lake. His name was Fuzzy because of his fluffy, fuzz-like covering. Fuzzy was unable to grow into his waterproof feathers like his brothers, and this would make him jealous. Fuzzy was always different. Unlike his brothers, Fuzzy would take a longer time to learn simple things like how to feed, quack, swim, and fly. This would make Fuzzy sad and tired. Fuzzy also tried to express to his brothers how lonely he was feeling and how much he wanted to play with them, but they never seemed to understand. At times, in frustration, Fuzzy would do cannonballs near them. He would also quack unclearly for several minutes and even peck them. Igor, Blue, and Mayo were a wild bunch. They loved to splash, glide, dive, and zoom out of the water like torpedoes. Every day, the three brothers loved to explore. One day, they came upon a new object. It was a big, shiny green leaf that dipped into the lake. Each brother took turns screaming happily as they went down the leaf. As Igor flew to the top of the leaf, Blue saw Fuzzy coming towards them. "You can't play here, this is our spot," said Blue. "We already called dibs, and no one else can play here on the leaf." I find it treating the man bad, oh God. Sad and lonely, Fuzzy waddled away across the lake. He came upon another duck bathing near the shore. Her silky, smooth, waterproof feathers glistened in the sun. Fuzzy was starstruck and did not realize that he was being watched by this new stranger. "Hello, my name is Claire," she said. "I live around the bend. What is your name?" Fuzzy did not answer. The man mad vex. How we go answer? He ain't no time for you, Claire. "I saw what happened," Claire continued, "and I don't think it's fair. Everyone can play on the leaf." Fuzzy stared at her blankly, then waddled away. Another day came. The morning was greeted with the glow of the rising sun and soft rain showers. Fuzzy waddled to his lonely area and quietly looked at his brothers playing joyfully. Claire was floating nearby and saw Fuzzy by himself. "Hello, it's me again. My name is Claire. What are you doing?" Fuzzy tried to answer and mumbled, "Hi, my name is Fuzzy. I'm watching my brothers play, doing stuff I can't do well." "Why can't you do it?" asked Claire. "I saw what happened yesterday. What they did was not nice." Fuzzy tried once again with great difficulty to form his words. Mama Kathy said I'm different, slow to learn, but I will get it eventually. I just need to keep practicing, he replied. "Well, that's no reason why you can't play with your brothers," said Claire. "Come on, let's go." With Claire by his side, Fuzzy once again floated near his brothers where they were playing. This time, Fuzzy's mother was watching and overheard what was happening. Blue spotted Fuzzy with his new friend approaching and quacked harshly, "You still can't play here!" Before Fuzzy turned to waddle away, his mother came speeding towards them. "All of you can play together on the leaf," said Mama Kathy. "Not just you three. You are being mean by not letting Fuzzy play." "I saw you yesterday," shouted Claire. "That's bullying." Blue, Mayo, and Igor looked at each other, confused, and said, "No, it's not." "Oh, yes, it is," said Mama Kathy. "It is better to share and include others. And now you have a new friend to play with, Claire. She's our new neighbor." "I'm sorry, Fuzzy," said Blue. "We just wanted to take a break from learning and have some fun," said Igor. "Yeah, and you take a long time to learn," said Blue. "Well, if you all help each other, Fuzzy will not take a long time to learn to play," said Mama Kathy. "Okay," said Blue, Igor, and Mayo all together. "Let's see if you can get on top of the leaf," quacked Mayo. Fuzzy zoomed towards the leaf gleefully as Claire and his brothers joined in happily. the end. So guys, remember, this story is about a very important theme and message: bullying. It is something that is ravaging the nation right now, and we see it all across social media. So let us take that little message from this and make Trinidad a better place, Trinidad and Tobago. And this can also relate to the Christmas story of Rudolph. Rudolph was a reindeer with a red nose, and he was also bullied. So let us look at these messages and make Trinidad and Tobago a better place. Thank you, and Happy New Year, and all the best for the Christmas. Are gone.
We're dropping some nuggets here today though. Very important lesson: do not treat others unkindly, do not bully people, don't treat people differently. A great lesson right here for you to learn at the 14th annual Celebrity Tale-A-Thon. Now, it's time for some art and craft. Do you have any idea how to make a maracas? Or how to make your shaker thing or your shack? Well, Auntie Gia Marie is going to come to show all of us how to make our very own maracas. Take it away, Auntie Gia Marie.
Hi boys and girls, it's Auntie Gia again. So now we are going to make a Christmas musical instrument. That's right, we are going to make a maracas. Do you know what that is? Well, at Christmas time, our paranderos use this instrument to add to the rhythm of their parang song. So some of you might be saying, a parang song? What is a parang song? Do you all know the song? Alegria, alegria. Yes? No? Alright, so for this craft, you will need some beads or some beans if you have some at home. That will work as well. 2 Easter eggs, 4 spoons, a scissors, some brown paper, glue, glitter or paint, and some tape. So firstly, we are going to fill our Easter eggs. These beads are going to provide our sound. Do you hear that? This is just the beginning. So once we've filled our eggs, we are now going to create our sticks for our maracas. So you're going to take 2 spoons and we are going to attach them to our egg like this. 1 spoon goes on one side. Take some tape and the other spoon goes on the other side. And we're going to secure them with some tape. Ensure that your spoons don't look like this. We need them to come together so that we can eventually hold our egg in the middle like this to shake. So we're going to attach the spoon with some tape. So your eggs and your spoons should look like this. Now, we are going to secure the 2 ends of the spoons together with some more tape. You could ask mommy and daddy to help, okay? Because we're going to be using a good bit of tape. And we're just going to start at the base and we're going to go around and around and around. So we've covered our handles of our spoon. Now we're going to cover the egg also with tape. Your first spoon should be covered all the way with tape and it should look like this. And you're going to do the same thing with the second one. So now that we have our 2 maracas covered, we are going to take some brown paper to cover the base of the spoons right here. Now we are going to cover the base of our maracas with some brown paper. So you're going to take the brown paper, put the edge of your egg to the end of the paper, where the edge of the egg meets the spoon, and you're going to take your time and just gently roll the brown paper around the end until you cover the whole thing. And you're just gonna cut off the excess. Turn it in, and then we're gonna stick it with some tape. There we go. It should look like this. I'm gonna do the same thing with the other egg, the other maracas. Don't forget to cut off the excess tape. There we go. So the both maracas should look like this. Now for the fun part. Now you're going to grab your glitter or your paint. If you have paint, that will be okay. You're free to decorate the top of your maracas any way you want. Get creative. Have fun. That's the most important thing. So you're going to take some glue. You're going to cover one side. And you're going to take some glitter. And you could use any color glitter you like. I just chose this one because I find it very pretty. It's a mixture of several colors. You can tap to get off the excess glitter. Notice that I am using a piece of paper on my table underneath my spoon so that it can collect all the excess glitter, because you don't want to mess up mommy and daddy table. Okay, so make sure you have something there covering so that you will take up all the excess glitter. So we did one side, now we're going to do another side. So you don't want to do the whole thing all at once. You want to do piece by piece by piece. Some people like to do patterns or use stickers. That's quite okay as well. Or if you have markers and you don't have any glitter or any paint, you could use markers as well and put different patterns on your maracas. That will also work as well. So we have one complete. You put it right there to dry. You do the same thing with your second one. There we have it, our 2 maracas. Oops, careful, that can happen too. So once they have dried, feel free to pick them up and give them a shake. Now, you don't only have to use it for parang music, you could also use it for Christmas music. Remember, it is a musical instrument. Do you all know the song Feliz Navidad? Give it a try and shake your maracas. Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, prospero año y felicidad. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas from the bottom of my heart. There we go, kids. Our 2 maracas. Have fun.
So while you were getting your craft on. I was browsing some of the books here at the children's library. All right, so we're back to our story time. Next up, 6 celebrity readers, 6 women coming to read for you some Christmas stories. They are Auntie Penny, Auntie Lara, Auntie Michelle, Auntie Michaela, Auntie Sasha, and Auntie Shelley. And what they have in common, they all played a role in bringing to you a wonderful book celebrating womanhood. So put your hands together and welcome your aunties to come in just to read for you guys.
Hey boys and girls, I am Auntie Penny and I'm here to read you a story, and it's called Toy Troubles, written by me. Barbie and Game Boy were 2 toys that were extremely popular with children. They were loved by boys and girls all over the world and were often high on the list of requests to Santa. Barbie and Game Boy were very upset with children that desired them. They would sit in their boxes staring at the children as they misbehaved year after year. They didn't take care of their toys. They would be thrown into a corner minutes after they were opened. Barbie also noticed that some children were becoming very rude to their parents, answering back when they were scolded. Game Boy observed that some little ones were being bullied. What really upset the 2 toys most of all was the fact that children were being rewarded for their bad behavior with toys. Barbie and Game Boy had enough of this and came up with a plan to teach the children a lesson. The plan would be put in place on Christmas Day. Immediately they sent out a call to all the toys in the world. They called on Baby Alive, Legos, board games, cars, trucks, books, marbles, and all the electrical toys in the world. Barbie and Game Boy sent out a message to the toys. The message read, on Christmas Day there's going to be a toy strike. No more plays, no more games. Tony, the teddy, heard the message and was extremely concerned about the suggestion. A toy strike? Really? He murmured. How can they ask that of us toys? Tony wondered. As Tony sat in the box, he was concerned because he knew that there were great children out there just like his friend Cindy. He knew the value of toys. I mean, toys can help children learn. They can help with problem solving. They can help with creativity and open the imagination of children. Tony could not let this strike happen. He decided to travel to Barbie and Game Boy and talk on behalf of all the children in the world. Also, Christmas Day was just a few days away and he wanted the children to enjoy the holidays. He traveled on top of a toy train, rode on the trunk of a big yellow plastic toy truck, and flew on a bright red striped kite to get to Barbie and Game Boy. When he landed at the store that Barbie and Game Boy were housed, he found them fussing and arguing. Tony stayed in a corner of the store and listened to Barbie and Game Boy as they went on and on. As they spoke, they were getting more and more agitated. Tony was afraid to go out and talk to them. After all, he was just a tiny teddy bear who was hardly noticed. But after a few minutes, he found the courage and went to speak to Barbie and Game Boy. Hello? Hello, Miss Barbie and Mr. Game Boy. Tony whispered in a trembling voice. Who's that? Shouted Game Boy. Who's calling our names? It's me, Tony. I'm down here. Hello. Tony said, jumping up and down to get the attention of the 2 toys. Finally looking down to their feet, they noticed the teddy bear. Look, it's a teddy bear, Game Boy. I haven't seen one of you in a long time. Barbie picked up Tony and snuggled and hugged him warmly. Then Tony decided to bring it up. The gifts, the gifts that will be of no use because they won't be working, and this will teach those unmannerly children a lesson about manners and respect, said Game Boy. Don't bring up the strike. With that, they sent Tony on his way. It was Christmas Eve. It was Christmas Eve night and Santa was due to arrive any time. Tony was anxious about Santa's visit. He was always scared of the man in the red suit. He was also worried about the impending toy strike. Tony was crouched in a corner of his box when he heard the bells of Santa. He stood up and he grabbed the world's map and he looked at Santa's journey. He saw Santa would be traveling all over the world, dropping off presents to the children. First, he would be going to England, America, China, and Africa. His final stop would be Trinidad and Tobago, his favorite Caribbean destination. It was early Christmas morning. Santa had just delivered his last present. As he was about to ride out with Rudolph and the reindeer, he heard the loud cries of children all over the world. No! Santa turned back at once and listened. He was confused. He didn't understand why children would be crying on Christmas morning. Tony was pacing in his box by now, kicking himself for not saying anything. He was concerned about his friend Cindy. She was the best child in the world. He called out, "Santa! Santa!" But his voice was too soft. He gave it his last try. He shouted, "Santa!" Immediately, Santa was by his side with the reindeer. What is it, little Tony? What is going on? Tony was delighted that Santa even knew his name. And right then and there, Tony told Santa all that's been going on. He spoke to he spoke to Barbie and Game Boy and letting them know that he would speak to the parents. That's what Santa said. I will speak to Barbie and Game Boy, and you don't worry, I will speak to the parents and the children. Barbie and Game Boy agreed and trusted Santa to make the right decision. The strike was called off. The toys began to work. Yay! The children shouted. The dolls smiled, the toy trucks and the cars drove, the board games opened up, Legos were built up, bikes were riding, the children played with their toys and they were happy, happy. The parents opened their letter that Santa wrote, and after reading it, they all hugged and spoke to their children about love, kindness, and being gracious. Barbie and Game Boy observed the change in the children's attitude. Tony was happy that he saved Christmas. The end. Toy Troublers. Have a wonderful Christmas, children. And this story is available at Nigel R. Can Bookstore. Bye.
Hello, boys and girls. My name is Lara Quentrell Thomas, and I've got my Christmas reindeer antlers on. I don't know if you can see them, so Merry Christmas to everybody. And I'm going to be reading you a story today all about Greg the Turtle. Very interesting, because Greg has a question. And the question is this: can turtles celebrate Christmas? Let's find out, shall we? Greg the Turtle got up that morning the same as every other day. He looked around his little room and went to get a drink from his dish. As he shook off the last bits of sleep, he looked out through his glass wall to see what his people were doing. They were putting decorations all over the house. Big red and green and gold and silver shiny things that Greg the Turtle did not understand. And lots of the decorations showed a picture of a big jolly man in red pajamas with a long white beard. Greg's person Molly was asking her sister Mabel lots of questions. So, is he really going to come tomorrow night? Of course he is. You wrote him a letter, didn't you? I did, but are you sure he's going to read it? I told you, Molly, Santa visits everyone who writes him a letter. But how does he do it all in one night? It's just Christmas magic. I don't know exactly how it works, but I think he may be able to freeze time. Wow. There were lots of words that Greg the Turtle had never heard before. Santa, Christmas, magic. It was all very confusing. But later that day, Molly came in to see and chat with Greg. She picked him up and showed him something. Look at our beautiful Christmas tree, Greg. Greg the Turtle looked and saw a large green tree in the middle of the living room, covered with coloured sparkly lights and ornaments. He thought it was really beautiful, but he didn't know what it was for. Tomorrow night, said Molly, Santa is going to come and bring us presents for Christmas. And I asked him to bring something for you too, even though I don't know what turtles really want for Christmas. It was a very confused Greg the Turtle that night. Christmas? What's Christmas? And who is this Santa who's supposed to bring me something? It was all a bit overwhelming, but that night a lot of his questions were answered. His room was in a place that faced the television, so when the girls watched Christmas movies, he learnt a lot about this Christmas business. At the end of the day, Greg the Turtle concluded, Christmas is a holiday that happens where the family gets together and eats and drinks and has lots of fun and gives each other presents. It all sounds lovely, but still Greg had one burning question. Do turtles have Christmas? Well, Greg spent much of the night thinking about this question, and the next day the girls watched more movies, and Greg learned a little bit more about the Christmas holiday, and in particular about this fellow called Santa Claus. He lives in the North Pole, and on Christmas Eve he flies through the sky with his magical reindeer and gives gifts to all the girls and boys. His heart sank. It's girls and boys, it's not turtles. He was a turtle, not a child. Oh well, he thought as he went to bed that night, no Christmas for me. At some point during the night, Greg the Turtle was awoken by a strange sound, a sort of a thud noise on the roof. He was a bit frightened. If it was a burglar, he was only a little turtle. He was quite scared. But then he heard another noise. Bells. Little tiny bells. And he remembered from his movies that Santa's reindeer had bells. Maybe this was the reindeer with the magic sleigh. And it was. All of a sudden, Santa appeared next to the Christmas tree and started putting out gifts, filling stockings, and eating the cookies and drinking the milk. Greg watched him completely mesmerized. The bright smile, the red suit, the white beard, it all fit. He's just the way I thought he would be, Greg said. I may not get any presents, but it's enough just to see Santa. But just as Santa was about to leave, he turned and saw Greg the Turtle. He smiled and said, Well, hello there, Greg. You don't remember me, do you? Well, you were very small the last time I was here. You see, you were Molly's Christmas present last year, and she asked me to make sure that you got a present this year. So don't look so surprised when there's something for you under the Christmas tree. But now you must go back to sleep, because rules are rules. If you want your present, you have to wait till morning. So Greg the Turtle closed his eyes and tried to fall asleep. That's better, said Santa. Merry Christmas. He heard Santa creep away. He heard the bells ringing, and then Santa was gone. It was tempting to open his eyes, but Greg kept them tightly shut until he fell asleep. The next morning he heard Molly and her sister Mabel coming down the stairs shouting Merry Christmas to their parents. The whole family watched as presents were opened around the tree, everybody smiling. Greg watched his family open their gifts and laugh and celebrate. It was wonderful, and Greg was happy to be there. Look, said Molly suddenly. Santa left something for Greg. Greg had almost forgotten. And then Molly put in his cage a beautiful, shiny green lettuce, a great big head of lettuce, and it was all for him. As Greg began to munch on the crisp green leaves, he thought of what Santa had said. Merry Christmas, Santa, he thought, and thank you for the best Christmas I ever had. And so the moral of the story is, yes, turtles really do have Christmas. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Hi, I'm Michelle Burrell. It truly is an honor to be able to connect with you, especially at this time of year, as we celebrate the peace, love, joy that this season brings. As I wish you and yours compliments of the season, I have the honor of sharing with you this story titled Magic Words with Max. It's my first children's book, and I think it's appropriate for this time of year because Christmas is all about the magic and warmth of the season, and let's hope that this magic continues throughout the year. So here we go, Magic Words with Max. This book is focused on kindness and reminds us that please and thank you truly are magic words. So this is Max. Hi, I'm Max and just turned 8. Give me a thumbs up if you think that's great. Join Max. Give him a thumbs up. Since I was 3, I learned magic words from my mummy. Not words like alakazam or alakazoo, but words like please and thank you. This is Max with his mummy when he was 3, and here he is outside playing. However, here's the note. I can go outside and enjoy the breeze. First, I must say, Daddy, may I please? Remember to say thank you for what you receive, be it a toy, a snack, or a bless you when you sneeze. Words are magic. Just start with those 2. Be amazed by what good they can do. Words truly are magical. Are there any other magic words you know? Magic words help love to grow. These words are friendly and polite, and when grown-ups hear them, they smile bright. When your friends hear them, they feel great too. Why? They know it's the right thing to do. Oopsie doopsie! You broke a toy? Just say sorry to the girl or boy. Magic words, they're more than 2, and I'm pretty sure you know them too. Excuse me if you need to pass. Pardon me if you have a question to ask. When Mummy cooks and I think it's yummy, I say thank you as I fill my tummy. For doing a chore, Daddy thanks me. I respond, you're welcome, Daddy. Not only are children polite, parents are too. We learn from our mummies and daddies. How do magic words make you feel? Those tiny words are a big deal. Use these words wherever you go, be it at home, school, or a cinema show. When you enter a place, be sure to greet all the beautiful people that you meet. That's Max with Mom and Dad. As you leave, say thank you and goodbye. Don't forget your manners. Keep them high. So give me a high five. Please and thank you truly are magical words. And let's remember, magic words with Max, not only for the Christmas season, but beyond. Peace, love, joy. Happy holidays to you and yours. I'm Michelle Borrell. Love and light.
It was December 20th, only 5 days until Christmas, and the littlest tree was at the Christmas tree stand on the main street of town. There were all different kinds of evergreen trees at the stand: spruce, firs, and pines. The trees were all different sizes and shapes: tall, thin, fat and short, but the littlest tree was certainly the smallest. The littlest tree had a big wish. I wish that someone would take me home this Christmas and make me beautiful with decorations. Then everyone would gather around me to sing my favorite Christmas carol. O Christmas tree, how lovely are thy branches. I can't wait to be a Christmas tree. On that beautiful winter day, when the sky was bright blue and there wasn't a cloud to be seen, Gabrielle and Simon came to the Christmas tree stand with their mom and dad. "Oh, I want this one," cried Gabrielle, running right up to the biggest fir tree. Simon said, "Twee." "See," said Gabrielle, "Simon wants this one too." "Oh no," said Mum, "this one is too tall. We would need to put a hole in our ceiling to fit it in our house." When the littlest tree heard this, it thought, maybe they will want me to be their Christmas tree if the fir tree is too big. I could easily fit into their house. But the family took a look at all the other trees without even glancing at the littlest tree. They studied and measured each one until they found the perfect tree. Early the next morning, when there was still some frost on the trees, an old man and woman walked by the stand. The littlest tree stood up, as tall as it could, shook out its needles and tried to look its very best. As they looked at the littlest tree, the old man said, "This one is small enough for us to carry home ourselves." "Isn't it sweet?" said the old woman. But just then they noticed the biggest tree standing up tall and said, "What a beautiful tree. This tree must be older than you and me combined." And they asked the man at the stand to carry it to their house. The next day was freezing cold, and all the tree's branches were blowing in the wind. Twin brothers came to the stand with their grandma and grandpa. "Let's pick a tree quickly, it's freezing," said Grandpa. "Then we can go have some hot chocolate and warm up." They chose a tall, skinny tree and ran shivering to their car with it and drove away. All the next day, people came to the stand to find their perfect Christmas trees. Many people looked at the littlest tree and said that it was cute, but no one took it home. Finally, Christmas Eve arrived, and the littlest tree thought, "Oh dear, tomorrow is Christmas, and I so want to be a Christmas tree. If no one chooses me today, then my wish will never come true." The littlest tree opened its branches as wide as possible and tried hard to be seen. Very few people came to the stand that day. Most people were home baking cookies, wrapping presents, and decorating their Christmas trees. The littlest tree tried singing to cheer itself up. "On the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me a partridge in a pear tree. I am not a pear tree, and I'm not a Christmas tree yet either." There were hardly any trees left, and the sky was getting dark quickly. Soon the street lights came on. A few snowflakes began to fall and started to stick to the littlest tree's branches. The littlest tree felt quite beautiful with the snowflakes decorating it. A little icicle formed from one of its branches as the littlest tree began to cry. It felt lonely. The man was getting ready to close up his stand for the night. He wanted to get home to celebrate Christmas Eve with his family. He still had a lot of presents to wrap. As he was leaving, he glanced at the littlest tree. He picked it up and put it under his arm. "Where is he taking me?" the littlest tree wondered. They walked for what seemed like forever, and then suddenly stopped. The man carried the littlest tree inside, where it was warm and smelled of yummy things. The littlest tree looked around and thought, "Oh, this must be a home." A little boy and woman ran up to the man and kissed him. "Merry Christmas," they cried, and the man handed the littlest tree to the boy. "I thought this was a perfect tree for you, Nathan. You can put it in your room and have your very own Christmas tree." Nathan took the littlest tree into his bedroom and found the perfect place for it to stand. The littlest tree stood up as tall as it could. Nathan's mum and dad cooked popcorn and helped Nathan string the popcorn with cranberries to make garlands. They cut out snowflakes and stars from white paper. Then they made a big star from silver foil for the topmost branch. They strung tiny twinkling lights on the littlest tree, and Nathan decorated it with everything they had made. He even put presents under the tree. The littlest tree was so excited, it felt 10 feet tall. "Oh, what a perfect Christmas tree," said Nathan. They all gathered around the littlest Christmas tree and sang, "Oh Christmas tree, how lovely are thy branches." I am now a Christmas tree, thought the littlest tree. And it was the loveliest and happiest Christmas in the whole world that Christmas, when all its wishes came true. Thank you for your time, and Merry Christmas to everybody.
Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Sasha John Charles Baines, and I'm honored to have the opportunity to share a story with you today. Today I'm going to be sharing a book written by my daughter Nyla Baines when she was 7 years old, and the name of the book is entitled Open Your Heart. It's a book that encourages you to explore the many possibilities in life through the eyes of a child. So this is Nyla here and her granny. Nyla. Yes, Granny. Come on a walk with me. No, Granny, I don't want to come. I want to play games on the computer. No, you should come, Nyla. You would enjoy it. Okay, fine. Let me get my bike as well. So here's Nyla riding around the park, riding around the neighborhood. Okay, Nyla, it's time to go home. Nyla, I enjoyed that walk. Oh wow, I am surprised. You said that you didn't want to come, and see, you enjoyed it. Yeah, riding my bike was fun. And Granny says, see, I told you you would enjoy it. So here's Nyla playing with her dolly with her mommy and daddy and her brother. And mommy says, Nyla. Yes, mommy. Come, we are going on a hike. Nyla, do we have to? Nyla's mommy, yes, give it a chance. Nyla says, okay. And here they are having fun, hiking up. And this is a true story here. This is an actual depiction of Nyla, Granny, well, mommy, sorry, and daddy and her brother hiking, because we love to hike. Nyla says, wow, this walk was amazing. I got to climb a mountain and I saw squirrels and monkeys. This was awesome. Mommy, yes, Nyla, you gave it a chance and you had lots of fun. It's time to go home. So this is Nyla sitting on the couch with her daddy, watching television again. And daddy says, Nyla. Yes, daddy. We are going to visit your cousin Aria's house. Daddy, I'd rather stay home and watch my favorite cartoon. Daddy says, come. I think you would like it. Nyla says, okay, I'll come. And here's Nyla playing with her cousin and of course their pet dog. His name is Teddy. So daddy says, okay, Nyla, it's time to go home. And Nyla says, daddy, this was so much fun. I got to play with Teddy and I played hide and seek with Aria. This was the best day ever. I am so happy that I came. You know, daddy, I learned that sometimes, although you don't want to go somewhere, you may end up enjoying it. You must open your heart to many possibilities. By Nyla Baines. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Shelley Dasmane and I am going to be reading How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Dr. Seuss. How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot. But the Grinch, who lived just north of Whoville, did not. The Grinch hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Now please don't ask why. No one quite seems to know the reason. It could be that his head wasn't screwed on just right. It could be perhaps that his shoes were too tight. But I think that the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small. But whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve, hating the Who's. staring down from his cave with a sour, grinchy frown at the warm lighted windows below in their town. For he knew every who down in Whoville beneath was busy now hanging a mistletoe wreath. And they're hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow is Christmas, it's practically here. Then he growled with his Grinch fingers nervously drumming, I must find a way to stop Christmas from coming. For tomorrow, he knew. All the Who girls and boys would wake bright and early, they'd rush for their toys. And then, oh the noise, noise. That's one thing he hated, the noise. Then the Who's, young and old, would sit down to a feast. And they'd feast and they'd feast and they'd feast. They would feast on Who pudding and rare Who roast beast, which was something the Grinch couldn't stand in the least. And then they'd do something he liked the least of all. For every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, would stand close together with Christmas bells ringing. They'd stand hand in hand and the Who's would start singing. And they'd sing and sing and they'd sing. And the more the Grinch thought of this Who Christmas sing, the more the Grinch thought, I must stop this whole thing. Why, for 53 years I've put up with it now. I must stop this Christmas from coming. But how? And then he got an idea, an awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea. I know just what to do. The Grinch laughed in his throat, and he made a quick Santa Claus hat and coat. And he chuckled and clucked, what a great Grinchy trick. With this coat and this hat, I look just like Saint Nick. All I need is a reindeer. The Grinch looked around, but since reindeer are scarce, there was no one to be found. Did that stop old Grinch? No, the Grinch simply said. If I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead. So he called his dog Max. Then he took some red thread and he tied a big horn on the top of his head. Then he loaded some bags and some old empty sacks on a ramshackle sleigh that he hitched up old Max. And then the Grinch said, giddy up, and the sleigh started down towards the homes where the Who's lay a snooze in their town. All the windows were dark, quiet snow filled the air. All the Who's were dreaming sweet dreams without care. When he came to the first little house on the square, this is stop number 1, the old Grinchy Claus hissed, and he climbed to the roof, empty bags in his fist. Then he slid down the chimney, a rather tight pinch, but if Santa could do it, then so could the Grinch. He got stuck only once, for a moment or two, then he stuck his head out of the fireplace flue, where the little Who stockings all hung in a row. These stockings, he grinned, are the first things to go. Then he slithered and slunk, with a smile most unpleasant. Around the whole room he took every present. Pop guns and bicycles, roller skates, drums, checkerboards, tricycles, popcorn and plums. And then he stuffed them in bags, and the Grinch very nimbly stuffed all the bags one by one up the chimney. Then he slunk to the icebox. He took the Who's feast. He took even the Who pudding. He took the roast beast. He cleaned out the icebox as quick as a flash. Why, that Grinch even took the last can of Who hash. Then he stuffed all the food up the chimney with glee, and now, grinned the Grinch, I will stuff up that tree. And the Grinch grabbed the tree, and he started to shove when he heard a small sound like the coo of a dove. He turned around fast, and he saw a small Who, little Cindy Lou Who was not more than 2. The Grinch had been caught by this tiny Who daughter, who'd got out of bed for a cup of cold water. She stared at the Grinch and said, Santa Claus, why? Why are you taking our Christmas tree? Why? But you know, that old Grinch was so smart and so slick. He thought up a lie and he thought it up quick. Why, my sweet little tot, the fake Santa Claus lied. There's a light on this tree that won't light on one side. So I'm taking it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there and I'll bring it back here. And his fib fooled the child. Then he patted her head and he got her a drink, and he sent her to bed. And when Cindy Lou Who went to bed with her cup, he went to the chimney and stuffed that tree up. The last thing he took was the log for the fire. Then he went up the chimney himself, that old liar. On the walls he left nothing but hooks and some wire. And one speck of food that he left in the house was a crumb that was even too small for the mouse. Then he did the same thing into all the other Who houses, leaving crumbs much too small for the other Who's mouses. It was 4:15 dawn, all the Who's still abed, all the Who's still a snooze when he packed up his sled. Packed it up with their presents, their ribbons, their wrappings, their tags, the tinsels, the trimmings, the trappings. 3,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet, he rode with his load to the tip-top to dump it. Pooh, pooh to the Who's, he was the Grinchiest Grinch humming. They're finding out now there's no Christmas is coming. They're just waking up. I know just what they'll do. Their mouths will hang open a minute or two.
Now, it is said that the origin of the Christmas wreath actually dates back to Persian times, way back in Persian times. And it was a symbol of success as well as importance. Now, the wreath of yesteryear were actually larger than the ones that we know now, and they were actually called diadems. All right, now Auntie Gia is going to come to show us all how to make our very own Christmas wreath. This is not a Christmas wreath, this is the ocean, but I was just trying. Auntie Gia.
Hi boys and girls, I hope you're having lots of fun. So welcome to our craft corner. So today we are going to be doing a Christmas wreath. Do you all know what a Christmas wreath is? It's an ornament that is circular and we hang it on our door. That's right. So for this craft you will need a pencil, some pom-poms, a scissors, some tape, glue, a plate. It can be a paper plate or styrofoam plate, some string or ribbon if you have that at home, some kite paper, green kite paper. I have 3 different colors, but if you only have 1 or 2, that's okay. So, everybody ready? Let's get started. So the first thing we will do is draw a circle to the center or the edge of our plate. I already drew one here, so you're going to draw not too close to the end, not too close to the middle, but just with enough space so that when we cut out our circle, we will have a nice shape right here. Okay, so you're going to draw your circle. Then you will take your scissors, punch a hole through the center, and then you will cut outward towards the line that you just drew. Now we will cut around our circle. Follow the line that you drew. So here we have the foundation for our wreath. You see it's a circle, see? I can see you. So this is what your plate should look like. So once we have completed this, we will then take our kite paper, one sheet, 2 sheets, 3 sheets. And we're going to all put the 3 sheets of kite paper on top of each other. So we have 1, 2, 3. We are then going to fold Make one nice fold and join our ends together and crease our paper. Then we're going to fold it a second time. Then we're going to fold it inward. And one last time again after this. So your kite paper should look like this. When you're finished, you're going to open it out, and you will see that we have lines where we creased our paper. You're going to open it back out, not all the way out, just our first fold. We're going to take your scissors, and you're going to open your kite paper to the middle piece right here. You're going to take your scissors and you're going to cut along the line of your middle fold, your first fold. Then keep the paper together now. We're going to cut again down the middle, following the same line, the same crease in the paper. And we're going to turn our paper and we're going to cut again. So we are cutting into little rectangles. Some of you might be cutting into squares, and that's okay. We're going to do the same thing with the next group of paper. And there we go. We have little rectangles of our paper with all our different colors cut evenly. Okay? Right. So you're going to take all our pieces and put them to one side. And we're going to go back to our base for our wreath. Now we're going to take some glue. And we're going to put some glue. We're going to do little bit by little bit. We're going to go all the way around, little piece by little piece, until we cover the whole rim with glue. We're going to take our paper, we're going to take a sheet, we're going to fold it in the middle, just like this, and we're just going to stick it right there. We're going to take another sheet, we're going to fold it, we're going to stick it right there, and we're going to go all the way around. Right, so boys and girls, this is what it should look like so far. Now we are going to attach our pom-poms. If you don't have pom-poms, that's okay. You could use anything that you have at home just to make it look so pretty, okay? You could use glitter. Yes, mommy and daddy, I said glitter. They can use glitter, or they can cut out any pretty little Christmas stocking or Christmas gift from Christmas paper that you may have at home, and they could stick it around the edge or the perimeter of their wreath to make it look fancy. But today I will be using pom-poms. So we have white, red, and green, or you could just use red alone or red and white. The choice is yours. Be creative. You can do anything you want because it's your wreath. So I will be using, I'll try some red today. Maybe 3 balls of red or 1 ball each. We'll see. So Auntie is either going to use glue or tape, because sometimes the pom-poms tend to give a little bit of trouble. So we'll see which one works. So Auntie's going to try the glue first. So you're going to put some glue on your pom-pom. And you're just going to stick it onto your paper, just like little cherries. Easy peasy. Very simple. I'll hold it up now so that you can get to see a little of what it looks like. So you have your pom-poms as your cherries for your wreath. And then we will use our string. Now we have to let it dry. Once it is dry, Mommy and Daddy will have to help you with this part. Is we have to cut the string and attach it to our wreath so that we can hang it on our dough. So you're just gonna need a little bit of string, not much, probably about this length. You can ask Mommy and Daddy to help you because they will know where it's going and how much string we will need for the dough. All right, so we're just gonna cut. We have our length of string. Then you can decide anywhere you want to put it is fine. Right, but remember, this is where it is going to hang onto the dough. We're going to use the string to attach it to the dough. So I'm going to attach mine to the top here. I'm going to turn it around so that you all can see. I'm just going to make a little hole in my paper plate or styrofoam plate with using the tip of my scissors. There we go. Then I'm going to place one end of my string through the hole. I'm going to make a knot at the end, and there we have it. Let's turn it back around. Our Christmas wreath. Now I'm not going to hold it up all the way because it still needs to dry. But when you're finished, you could take lots of pictures and send it to us here at the library so that we can see your beautiful Christmas wreath. Have fun, boys and girls.
Thank you. Hey, thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, guys, are you having a good time? Are you having a good time? I know you are. Moms, dads, uncles, aunties, don't forget, you have a chance to win a wonderful hamper from National Flour Mills. All you need to do is tell us how many times you spot the tree on your screen today and just send in your submissions to the email address on the screen no later than December 31st, 2022. And kids, those of you who are looking on and listening and enjoying yourself, you have to send your video in as well. A 30 to 45-second video telling us what you love about Christmas in Trinidad and Tobago, and also send that in no later than December 31st, 2022. The address is on the screen. Send it in. We are almost to the end of our 14th annual Celebrity Tale-A-Thon, and our next reader is from the Heritage Library at NALIS. Please welcome Jasmine Simmons.
The story today is What the Ladybird Heard. Once upon a farm lived a fat red hen, a duck in a pond, and a goose in a pen, a woolly sheep, a hairy hog, a handsome horse, and a dainty dog, a cat that meowed, and a cat that purred, a fine prize cow, and a ladybird. And the cow said, moo. And the hen said, quack. Hiss, said the goose. And quack, said the duck. Neigh, said the horse. Oink, said the hog. Baa, said the sheep. And woof, said the dog. One cat meowed while the other one purred. And the ladybird said never a word. But the ladybird saw, and the ladybird heard. She saw two men in a big black van with a map and a key and a cunning plan. And she heard them whisper, "This is how we're going to steal the fine prize cow." Open the gate at the dead of night, pass the horse and then turn right. Round the duck pond, past the hog. Be careful not to wake the dog. Left past the sheep, then straight ahead, and in through the door of the prize cow's shed. And the little spotty ladybird, who never before had said a word, told the animals, "This is how 2 thieves are planning to steal the cow. They'll open the gate at the dead of night, pass the horse, and then turn right. Round the duck pond, past the hog, being careful not to wake the dog. Left past the sheep, then straight ahead, and in through the door of the prize cow's shed." And the cow said, "Moo," and the hen said, "Cluck." "Hiss," said the goose, and "Quack," said the duck. "Neigh," said the horse. "Oink," said the hog. "Baa," said the sheep. "Woof," said the dog. And both the cats began to meow. "We can't let them steal the fine prize cow." But the ladybird had a good idea, and she whispered into each animal ear. At the dead of night, the 2 bad men, Hefty Hugh and Lanky Len, opened the gate while the farmer slept, and tiptoe into the farm they crept. Then the goose said, "Neigh," with all her might, and Len said, "That's the horse, turn right." And the dainty dog began to quack. "The duck," said Hugh, "we're right on track." "Oink," said the cat, "there goes the hog, be careful not to wake the dog." "Ba ba ba," said the fat red hen. "The sheep, we're nearly there," said Len. Then the duck on the pod said, "Moo, moo, moo. 2 more steps to go," said Hugh. And they both stepped into the duck pond, splash! And the farmer woke and said, "Golly gosh." And he called the cops, and they came, Nina, and they threw the thieves into their panda car. Then the cow said, "Moo," and the hen said, "Cluck." "Hiss," said the goose. "Quack," said the duck. "Neigh," said the horse. "Oink," said the hog. "Baa," said the sheep. "Woof," said the dog. And the farmer cheered, and both cats purred. But the ladybird said never a word. Crick crack, monkey break your back for a piece of pomerac.
Right, stay right. Whew. Thank you, Auntie Jasmine. Thank you so much for reading for us today. And guys, would you believe it? We are at the end of the 14th annual Celebrity Tale-A-Thon already. Yeah, it went quickly. It was a wonderful day. We had a great time. We have to say thank you to our wonderful cast of celebrity readers, all who took time out of their busy schedules to read for us. And we really, really appreciate you guys. Thank you so very much. Thank you to Auntie Gia Marie for teaching us how to make maracas, how to make wreath. Wreath. What's our problem? Say that word. Wreaths. Thank you so much, Auntie Gia Marie. And we say thank you to our sponsors for making this event a success. Catch you guys next year. Merry Christmas and have a wonderful, wonderful New Year. See you guys.